So, ladies and gentlemen, Valerie Adams is about to come on and blow your mind, really empowering you with the words that you're using, the language that is shaping and creating your reality each and every second. But before we dive into that, I'm talking to you because you are a world changer, and I want to support you however I can. So, a couple ways to do that. Number one, are you ready to get your message out on the 12-hour marathon? Whether you're ready or not, here I come. Let's talk about doing an interview with you so I can help you make a bigger impact in the communities and the people that are most important to you. So I'll tell you how you can get in contact with me in just a bit, but let's talk about doing an interview with you on the 12-hour marathon. Number two, if you are loving what we're doing with the 12-hour marathon, you want to start your own podcast, you want to get your own message out to the world in a bigger way, let's talk about that too. We'd love to support you with that. And then lastly, if there's anything else I could do to support you, connect you with one of these awesome human beings who are on the show today, like Valerie, who's about to come on and rock it, I'm happy to make those introductions as well if I think it'll be a great fit. So I appreciate you being here. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to take those next steps, you can email me, chris@beyourgps.com. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/th3burns, or you can find me on Instagram @IamMillionaireChris. Would love to hear from you, hear how we can continue to grow together into our greatest possible self. Next is the iTunes review of the week, and let's see who it's by this week. It's by Bulletproof Bowdy. Bulletproof Bowdy says, Chris is contagious. The host has big energy and it's inspiring. The way he shows up is impressive, and he has a great array of guests. Thanks so much, Bulletproof Bowdy. I appreciate you. And if you want to give us a review, go to beergps.com/iTunes, search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store, and definitely subscribe while you're there so you can keep getting all the latest updates and episodes. We release new episodes just about every single day on the podcast and YouTube, so definitely go check it out and stay connected, stay tuned. So I'm going to introduce Valerie in just a sec here. We're going to empower the heck out of you with your language, with your words, and creating your reality so you can create that breakthrough moment. And she's an amazing coach. She's an amazing human being. So definitely stay tuned all the way through till the end, because you never know what one idea or maybe even one word that you might be using that you could stop using or release and let go of and start using even more empowering words can really transform the rest of your life. Words are some of the most powerful things that have shaped my journey into being and becoming my greatest possible self. So I'm so excited to dive into this conversation with Valerie. I know you're going to love it. She's awesome. Her personality is epic and she's a lot of fun. So definitely stay tuned, and let's introduce Valerie, and then we will bring her on the screen to wow you even more. Because, my gosh, we are on fire today with Unapologetically Authentic. So, Miss Valerie Adams, she is a life and mindset coach, passionate about helping burnt out, high-performing boss babes master their mindset and create the life they've always desired. For many years, she struggled with feeling like she wasn't enough, and she looked for validation externally. She told herself the story, I'll be happy when, ... For many years, and the happiness never came. Once she had enough, Valerie became obsessed with personal development and broke through the beliefs that kept her stuck for years, and is now living the life she's always dreamed of, and she's committed to guiding you towards your path to happiness and even more of that. So Valerie, you are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
Yes, so ready. Thank you for that intro.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was so much fun just reading it, because I see how much you've grown. I see you stepping into your power, and I'm just super, super proud of you. You're an amazing boss babe yourself. So I appreciate you being here to share with our audience so that we can up-level, upgrade, and evolve our language to really create the life that we dream of. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. So exciting.
You're welcome. So let's dive right into the theme of today. It is unapologetically authentic. What does that mean to you, Valerie? How has that shaped your life and your reality?
Ooh, I love this. Great theme. Unapologetically authentic to me means being able to show up as who you are, not putting filters, not being a master chameleon and saying to yourself like, oh, okay, I'm going to give this version of myself to this person, and then I'm going to show up as this version to this person. And just being who you are congruently every single day, no matter what situation you're in, and doing it unapologetically where you're okay if you're not someone's cup of tea. Like
Mm.
that is okay as long as you are being authentic to yourself every
Mm.
single day.
I love it. I love it. Just loving yourself and showing up as you are, not trying to fit into whatever crowd or type of person that you're hanging around and be like. I see the image of pretzeling yourself. Try to like, oh, do you like me now?
Yeah, I used to be a master like contortionist around that. I was that pretzel.
What's that pretzel? I love it. And you had totally like just broken through that in such big ways. And now you're out empowering women, boss babes in life and mindset coaching, some amazing things. Tell us a little bit more about how you serve your clients and what they come to you for.
Yes, absolutely. So I love working with women who, they're doing all the things. So they're killing it in their job, whether they have their own business or they're climbing the corporate ladder. A lot of women I work with, they're in managerial roles or roles that really call them to step into their masculine and get SHIT done. It's something that they do very well. They're very programmed to do. So they run off of checklists. They know that if I do X, then Y will happen. So everything in their life is action based. And they're totally killing it in that area. But an area that they really lack is feeling like they're enough, feeling like they just showing up as themselves is okay. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to earn anything. They don't have to prove anything. And by the time I'm working with them, I'm supporting them into stepping into their feminine, really getting in that mode of receiving and showing up as who they are rather than taking all this action and feeling the need to do, and truly understand, hey, by me just showing up as myself, I'm a gift. That's enough. And I'm always going to be enough for the people meant to be in my life.
Mm. I love it. I love it. So awesome. And one thing I love about you, Valerie, is how clear you are on the type of woman you serve, and like you're painting the pictures of doing all the things, the checklist mindset, doing. And I think that's so powerful. And it's a reason why you've had, huge success and just really launched and been kicking ass in your coaching career. So I really, really acknowledge you for having that clarity, for really being intentional about the words and being specific on that. Really cool. So awesome stuff. And I want to go back into your journey and talk about how did you get to where we are today? How did you get into coaching and empowering people with their language and these boss babes who are out there kind of suffering, not really being fulfilled? What was your journey like, and how do you relate to that?
Yes, thank you for asking. So let me start off by saying that I've always been obsessed with like motivational quotes and
Wow.
inspiration. I love when you can get a nugget of something like,
Mm,
when a quote or just something someone shares, one sentence just like really like lands and really like you feel it in your soul. So my phone, ever since I've been able to save pictures onto a phone, which has been for like, decades, we went from like flip phones to iPhones.
wow.
You could always find quotes and
Wow.
say,
That's
I don't know if
incredible.
you were, yeah,
That's
I don't know if
incredible.
you remember like AIM Instant Messenger.
Yep.
You used to be able to make your own bio, and I would always have a motivational quote. So I love that you have the power to choose a different thought, choose different words,
Mm,
and use it to completely change your mood or alter a situation. So
mm,
anytime I would see something that would resonate, I would always save it.
mm,
And I loved personal development books.
mm,
I loved knowing, like, wow, I can get ahead and really understand myself or change something I don't like by having knowledge and applying knowledge. So, years and years of that, but really not doing anything with it. And
mm,
the reason I didn't do anything with it is because I wasn't truly doing the work. So,
mm.
reading a book is great, attending a seminar, awesome.
Wow.
And the shift really does not happen until you do that hard work. Anyone
Wow.
can pick up a book, anyone can have an arsenal of positive quotes like me, but until you're willing to do that work and really get in there and shine a mirror on yourself and what's not working in your life and then commit to breaking through,
Wow.
that's when the transformation happens. And what was happening for me is that I had no idea that I had work to do. I was in complete denial. And I thought, I'm good. I have all the positive quotes, like all the things. And really in my life, I was in that do mode. So I was in a corporate career where I was doing very well. And I knew, okay, if I do X, then I'm going to get paid X or I'll make X amount of money. So my mind was trained that when you do something and when you're committed to it, then you'll get what you want, then and only then. And that manifested into every area of my life. So that showed up in romantic relationships for me, where I thought, okay, so if I do X, if I show up in a certain way, then they will love me, then they will commit to me. Same with friendships. If I show up and, give a friend this experience, and they'll want to be friends with me and we're going to be great friends. I did it financially. I mean, just every area of my life. And where I can really think it started was in childhood with my dad, who I have an amazing relationship with today. And I'm one of two, and my brother is just like baseball star. He got very good grades. School for me, it wasn't easy for me, and sports just weren't my thing. So what I experienced at the time was my dad putting complete focus on my brother's sports, my brother's academics. So what that taught me was, okay, to be worthy of love, I need to like play a sport and be really good at it or get a good grade. So my mind was conditioned to believe like, okay, to be worthy, you have to do this and do it well. And you always have to have something to be proud of and say, look at me, and then you'll be worthy of love. So feeling this way, it showed up. I always felt this way. So I told myself this story, I'm not enough. And to escape that feeling of feeling like I'm not enough, instead of doing the work, I would numb and distract myself. So my numbing looked like going shopping. I would literally be like, okay, I need to go like buy something, like blow off some steam. So I would go buy a new shirt, buy a new outfit. And it would, of course, make me feel better for like 30 minutes. And then oftentimes I would just leave the item in the bag. I wouldn't like care for it. It was never enough. In terms of my friendships, I had a lot of surface level friendships. I was only concerned with being surrounded by people, but not truly connected with people. So it really lacked for me. And I would bond with friends over gossip, going out and drinking, not talking about vision, and really just not feeling completely fulfilled with the people I was around. I loved Netflix. So I would do a lot of I would come home from work and just turn on like 5 hours of Netflix and escape there. So that was the numbing. And really the breaking point for me was when I walked into work one day. I'd been at my company for 2 years at this point, and I walk in, the head of HR is there, and he says, your entire department is being eliminated at the end of this month. And if you would like to remain employed with this company, you have an option to move to Nashville, Tennessee, which was very far from San Diego, California, where I was living. They said, you have the option to interview for a role there. We'll move you out and you would be working out of that office. So let us know in a week. So I knew at that moment, I was like, okay, something isn't working in my life. Like something, I remember having the feeling like, is this all there is to life? Like, okay, I guess, like, yeah, cool. Rinse and repeat. That was my life. And then distracting myself on the weekends. And I just thought, okay, I don't know what's on the other side of that, but I'm just going to say yes. And that ended up being the best decision I ever made, because when I got to Nashville, I had made up a story like, oh, all my problems are going to go away. I'm going to completely love myself. I'm going to get friendships of my dreams, the relationships of my dream. San Diego was the problem. The people I was around was the problem. Like my job, everything else besides me was the problem. I wasn't taking any responsibility. And so as you know, you take yourself with you wherever you go. So my habits, right when I got there, I wasn't focused on deep connected friendships. And I remember going out one night with some new friends in a party setting, and it was a night where I just was not in control of my alcohol. I was not responsible, and I remember waking up the next morning with just like massive anxiety, a really low feeling, and looking at myself in the mirror and saying, Valerie, how much longer are you going to do this? I was 27 at the time. I'm 29 now. So this was just a couple years ago. And I remember just like that moment where you're looking at yourself, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So typical behavior would have been to like numb even more when I'm feeling anxious. So like watching Netflix, ordering Postmates, and just pretending, shoving things under the rug. And I thought, no, what can I do that's going to make me feel better right now and be beneficial for me? And I go, podcasts. Yeah, people are listening to podcasts. Let me find a podcast. And I go look, and I see there's all these like murder podcasts. I'm like, that's not going to help. What about something like motivational? Because at that time I only knew quick hits of inspiration. So I was like, okay, what's like something inspirational? And I stumbled upon Lewis Howes' School of Greatness podcast. And I don't even remember the particular interview, but I turn it on and I just hear him interviewing someone. They're having a very vulnerable, open conversation. And I just remember it soothed my soul so much. My anxiety dissipated and melted away. And I thought, wow, this is like the type of stuff I get to be consuming. So long story short, I got obsessed. I clearly knew, okay, I'm meant to be sharing my pain, sharing what I've struggled with into supporting other people, because I know so many women who suffer through this, and suffering is totally a choice. And I had chosen different at that point. So hired my first coach. She helped me launch my business, started working with multiple coaches, Petsia being one of them. And really my commitment was to focus on an abundance mindset and really interrupt my thought patterns that got me to a place I didn't want to be, and replace it with positive thoughts. I've done emotional intelligence work. I've actually gone back and I'm coaching that now. So just sharpening skills around there. And my journey is lifelong, as I know yours is too, Chris. So I'm a student of life for life. So the journey is just getting started, and that's how I got to where I am today.
Holy moly, so much gold in there. I wanted to ask about the affirmations and these quotes like early on. Did you have parents who kind of instilled the positive thinking or personal development into you at an early age?
No. So
wow. Wow.
No, that was not the household I grew up in. And, I don't remember having affirmations in my life. I would get them outside of my parents, and it's not to paint a picture like, oh, my parents like didn't never. It's like your parents do the best they can with what they have. So if they're not telling their kids affirmations, they're most likely not telling themselves affirmations. So you can only love someone as much as you love yourself. And that just wasn't something in my household. It was actually more so fear based. It's like, oh, if you don't get this grade or higher, then this will happen. There was a consequence, rather than imagine the possibility of getting that good grade. And, of course, like when I did something or like got the good grade, the scored, that's when the praise came. But affirmations, I think that was like an escape for me when I was younger without realizing it, because I would look outward and find a quote and be like, wow, that feels so good. I want to save this. I want to look at it again. So thank you for asking that. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's interesting. I was talking to Amber right before you, and she said she started cheerleading to like get away from what she was feeling in her home life, like she wasn't feeling supported or connected. And I think it's interesting that like now she's the life purpose cheerleader. Same with you. Like you discovered these words and these quotes and inspiration, motivation, and possibility at an early age, kind of to like it was almost like your soul's intuition say, hey, go here. It may not have been like, you may not have been clear on why in the beginning. You may not have understood it, or it might not even have come from the most positive and empowered place, right? But it was just, it happened. And like fast forward a decade or two, and it's like you're using this and inspiring people and contributing to people and teaching people because it's just a natural soul gift for you. And that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. And then your journey continued to evolve. I love how you said your move to Nashville was one of the best things that could have ever happened to you, because you got to see like, oh my gosh, like this vision of how I'm so right that San Diego is so wrong, and all these people are the problem. Like, is San Diego. Like you got to see like oh wait, like I thought all of my problems would magically disappear in Nashville. And how many people are out there like in circumstances that they don't like, but they're choosing to be the victim. They're choosing to be irresponsible about their outlook, about their perspective, about how they see it and how they relate to it. And that is what's causing their suffering, which I love how you also said that is optional, right? Like we choose how to handle, how to manage, how to respond to pain. Like how do we show
Mhm.
up in spite of adversity, in the face of adversity, challenge, difficulty, hardship? How are we going to respond? And so I really love just with your story and your journey that you're sharing how you showed up powerfully and empowered once you realized that you were giving your power away and you took it back and you've just been like feeding yourself the power through podcasts, through being around the right people, hiring coaches, coaching people yourself, sharpening your own skills, like the emotional intelligence and coaching that. Like, if you want to learn something at the deepest level, go freaking teach it.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
Making me so excited. I'm like,
I love it. I love it. So I want to dive into like these. Specifically, I want to talk to the boss babes out there who are on the checklist mentality, just doing, never feeling fulfilled and enough as they are. What would you say to them? Just starting this conversation off, going a little bit deeper.
yeah. So I can affirm something positive and tell you you are enough. But
Mm,
what I would rather invite anyone listening to look at is ask yourself, when was the first time I made up the story that I wasn't enough?
wow.
This is something that I ask my clients. It's usually like call one, because my clients who I work with, they struggle with not feeling like enough. So
Mm,
we go back to childhood, and it's not to like, bring up pain, but it's like, hey, like, when did you get this belief that you weren't enough? Because at one point it was a thought, and then you believed it, and now it's your truth.
wow.
So when did this happen for you? So I invite anyone listening to ask yourself, like, did you just wake up one day and decide you weren't enough?
Mm,
Or what happened in your life? Or who was the first person who you felt like you weren't enough around?
mm,
And use that as a guide, and just know that it's not your fault, and there's nothing you need to do to prove that you are enough. You're enough right now, and you're worthy of doing the work to change your beliefs and switch out these old beliefs that don't serve you for new ones that are going
mm.
to serve you and take you to wherever you want to go in life.
Wow, that's amazing. And I really want to highlight as well that a lot of people are so afraid to go into their past. I even know people who say, I don't remember anything about my past. And it's like, okay, I get that you think you don't remember, and that's your story. And I also think that that's a protection mechanism to keep you safe from going back and revisiting that stuff so that you can heal it. And I love how you also said, we're not there to just like make you go back there and like dig your nose in it and make you feel it and cry and be miserable. We're doing this so that you can become aware, so that
Mhm.
you can have a choice about how you show up rather than being run by this. I love how you said it was first a thought, then it became a belief and a story, and then it became your truth, someone's truth that these things happen, and then you start living that. That is your life. You live out your life from that wound. But when you are willing to go back there and reinvestigate, so to speak, and ultimately, I'm not sure how you like go about changing the belief, but having a willingness to change it. That's the most important part, is like to say, hey, maybe it wasn't that bad, or like how can I go change that story. So that's what my mind goes to next, is once they are willing to go back and see this thought that they made into into a belief, into their truth, how do they change it?
Yes. So awareness is number one. So knowing where it came from, and
Mhm.
then asking, how does this show up in my life every day? How am I letting this thought that I grabbed when I was
Mm,
7 and believed, like, how is this thought, this limiting belief, so belief that's keeping you stuck and holding you back, how is this still running my life? How am I still giving this
mm,
power every day?
wow,
So awareness is key, because then you can interrupt it. And a way to interrupt it is like let's say you have a story that you're not enough and it's from something in your childhood where you didn't feel enough for your dad. So that shows up romantically, you don't feel enough, for a man. So it's like, where can I find evidence that proves my story to be wrong? So if I have a story like, oh, I need to always be doing something in order to be worthy of having a partner romantically, when I'm seeing like, oh, I'm like about to sabotage this or I'm pulling away, like, where is this coming from? Like, okay, this is coming from my silly story that I had about not being enough. So like, what evidence can I find to show that I am enough? Like, oh yeah, my partner and I, we love, like, I'm enough without makeup. We love just hanging out. I don't have to do anything. Like, he loves me for me. Like, of course he does. I am enough. So I would say just that awareness, being able to find false evidence or finding evidence to prove you wrong, like as if you were in a court of law, like, could you find proof to show that you're not enough? Is there any way that someone could say, actually, Valerie, you are enough, and here's why, here's times in your life where you have been enough? And then the willingness to replace the thought. So you're never wrong for your first thought. Like, that's not your problem. It's the thought you think after that. So, if you're like, I'm not enough, having awareness, finding evidence, and then saying, yeah, I'm more than enough. Like, I'm everything. I have everything I need. And I also want to say, we hold a lot of weight on our thoughts, and we make ourselves wrong for feeling our thoughts. So it's never your thoughts. It's how you feel. It's the feeling that comes from your thoughts. So you always want to focus more on how you're feeling. And a way to shape how you're feeling is by being super aware of your thoughts and choosing new ones. So I hear people a lot like, oh, I just need to stop thinking about this, or I just want to control my thoughts. And it's like, no, like, how amazing that you're having a thought that feels bad to let you know what gets to change, to let you get clear on what you do want to feel. And then you can replace it and feel better.
I love it. I love this so much. This is great. And I think a big question once we have the awareness that you mentioned is, how is this still running my life? How is this still impacting me? How is this still, where is this playing out? Because it's one thing to say, okay, where did this wound happen and what was the story that I made up, like 3 years old, 7 years old, whatever else it might be. And then, okay, now how is this still showing up? And I know I'll give another example. For me, it's like, I never feel like I'm messaging enough people back through social media and through Messenger. And it's like, that not enough is totally showing up and like rearing its ugly head there, trying to say, Chris, you're not doing enough. You're not being responsive enough. You're not being a good enough role model. If only people knew how bad you're doing in this, this entrepreneur thing and being a podcast host. And it's like, wait a second. I know that I'm doing my absolute best. And I did not sign up for this journey to be like a slave to this messenger, to be a slave to Facebook, to be a slave to whatever I'm feeling like I'm not performing well enough at. And I said also that I know I'm impacting enough people. People are messaging me all the time saying like, wow, this is an amazing show. It's an amazing 12-hour marathon and podcast and platform. So I'm getting that feedback that, Chris, you're on the right track. And so now I just get to say, you know what? I'm human. I have grace for myself. I deserve off time. I deserve to do the things that I love. I deserve to play and have fun and adventure outside of this. And how can I make this even more fun so I can get even more done, stay in flow, and just enjoy the process even more, So it's like, that's the kind of thought process I would go through if I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough around responding to people on Messenger.
Yeah, that's so funny. I have that same little like cute story too. That like, oh, I could be reaching out to more people and engaging. And it's like, yes, the grace and remembering that you are a vessel, right? So like, for you to deliver the messages you do, Chris, at the level you do, and I'm saying this to you and I'm saying this to anyone listening, like, none of that works if you're not working. So like,
right.
if you are drained and just like your cup is completely empty and it's like tipped upside down and you're trying to like find a drop to give to someone else, like, that's not going to work. And that's not going to allow you to make the impact that you're here to make, because you are a vessel. So it's like, how do you take care of that vessel?
Mm.
And yeah, there's always room for improvement. Like, okay, cool. That's something I think about a lot. So that does mean to me, that's an indicator that I want to connect with more people. So how can I prioritize that? Like, could I block it out in my calendar for 30 minutes and then connect with people? And then after that, like, no more story, no more I'm not enough. It's, hey, I did that today, and now I'm going to treat myself and play and relax and self-care and all the things. So
It's like
you and I
there's a plan or a strategy or a structure that we can be in integrity with, and as long as we're meeting that, like what we prepare for, it's like, okay, what would I have to do, what would I have to achieve, how much am I willing to invest in this activity to be able to say, you know what, I checked the box, I did as much as I could, and beyond that, if I do more, awesome. But if I didn't quite hit that, then I say, hey, I have some room to grow. That's my intention. I see that I can hit that. And of course, there's also the aspect of overextending ourselves and being over abundant in terms of what we can contribute. And I think a lot of people say I should be doing more and expect to have all these hours invested, when really it's like, just start off with getting in momentum. Take a step, take the next step. If you first gotta crawl, like give yourself permission to crawl, give yourself permission to build up your self-confidence and self-esteem. And don't say, if you've gone from, let's say, 0 messages a day to sending 100 a day, that's a little bit of a gap. It might be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. We get in that mindset where it's like, we go from never going to the gym to all of a sudden we're like, I'm going to go 5 days a week. It's like, then and maybe you will, and maybe you will. And you tend to burn out. That's been my experience. And I like what you said, Chris, about, like, I heard you talk about self-esteem and then also knowing that you're enough. And I think the self-esteem when you're starting something or when you're committing to a goal is being your word and doing what you say you're going to do. So if you wake up and say, I'm going to message 20 people today, and you put that time in your calendar, if you follow through on that, then you're going to feel good. Your self-esteem is going to go up because you are following through on a promise you made to yourself. So I ask myself, I'm like, why am I promising all these people? Like, yes, I'll be on this podcast. I'm promising my clients I'll be on our call at the time we're supposed to. And then it's like, what about the promises I made to myself? Like the promise to attend my yoga class that I didn't go to, or promise to, do a certain task the day. Like, why am I following through for other people and then not following through for myself? So that's something that I want to invite anyone listening to think about. Like, where are you coming through for other people? You're coming through for your boss, your significant other, your friends, your mom, your dad, your dog. But what about you? What promises are you making and keeping and following through onto yourself?
Wow, that's so powerful, and I think that's a great segue of the boundaries, the self respect, knowing what you value, knowing what your priorities are. Let's dive into that, Valerie. What does our audience need to know about that?
Yeah, so I think you nailed it with like boundaries, and we oftentimes don't realize that we have really unclear boundaries until you're at that point where you're just like ready to break. And it's like, how do we minimize the amount of times that happens? So self-care is a non-negotiable for me every day. And what I want to be clear about is that self-care does not need to look like a massage or a spa treatment. Like, yes, those are awesome. Self-care is as simple as saying no to meeting up with friends on Friday night when you just want to stay home, eat some Halo Top ice cream, watch a documentary on Netflix, and just be with yourself. Like, that is self-care. For me, it's been creating a morning routine where I guarantee that I'm going to have self-care happen before I'm serving anyone else. So my morning routine is, I wake up, I go to a yoga class typically, and then I come home, I journal. I'm not answering texts or calls before 8 a.m. And it's very tempting. So now I've started with the support of Petia. She supported me in putting my phone not next to me, because it's like, my phone needs to be on my nightstand, and then I was a slave to my phone. And then it's like right away I start off giving to other people and not giving to myself, because there's always going to be a text to send. There's always going to be a direct message. There's always going to be someone to get back to, but having that
Mhm.
time for yourself is everything, because the moment you're checking your emails and whatever, it becomes about other people.
Mm.
So boundaries for me, that looks like daily self-care. Journaling is huge for me. So I journal for about 10-15 minutes every morning. I focus on gratitude. I focus on a desired outcome. So I'll typically focus on one big goal that I have, and I'll write about it in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that X.
Mm.
And I describe the feelings. Something that I acknowledge myself for. So I start off the day by saying, I'm proud of myself for waking up and going to my yoga class this morning. And even though I really wanted to sleep in,
Mm.
and then I'll say something I'm looking forward to. So I get in the focus of like looking forward to something good. And I'll set an intention for the day. And my intention always, besides something specific, I'll always ask, how great can today be, and I'll set that intention and open myself up for the miracles. So what I would say to boss babes listening, anyone listening, is to check in with yourself and ask, how am I creating time for myself every day? And something I hear women say and my clients too, when I'm like, so how has your self-care been? They'll be like, yeah, I'm excited to have a massage booked for Saturday, so I can't wait. And we'll be talking on Monday. So I'm like, okay, awesome. So what's on the agenda for self-care today and tomorrow? Um, it, it's very easy to do. And I think
Yeah.
we get in the story that it means like, oh, going on vacation or
Yeah.
something big.
Yeah.
It's a boundary.
Yeah, people think it has to be expensive, it has to be extravagant, it has to be, big, but no, it doesn't. It's really just like, how do you recharge? And there's a lot of different ways to recharge, and I think people can just be more aware of that. There's so much about like, hey, how do you fill yourself back up, your cup back up? But I think one of the easiest ways is just be still, meditating, being silent, staying in the shower. Like I know Petya really loves the showers. It's like her sacred time. She's like a dolphin and a mermaid at once. We call her a mermolphin, and she just loves to be in the shower and just like be in there, because that water is so important for her. That's a self-care routine. Like it's just being present in the moment when you're doing these things of time for yourself, laying out in the sun, just relaxing, reading a book, journaling, whatever it is. But I love how you said that, and I want to focus on how intentional you are with your words, because I know that's a big focus of who you are and how you're showing up. And those questions that you are asking yourself, I think you said, how great can today be? Something along those lines. And, you're really creating the foundation of looking in the right direction, looking in the positive direction, focusing on what you want. Tell us about how language plays into that and into creating our reality.
Yeah, my absolute favorite thing to talk about, because we always have words going on in our head. It's a conversation. Even when we're not talking, we're always having a
Mm,
conversation in our
mm,
mind.
no.
So shifting from a place of I have to lack,
Mm,
things aren't working out for me, to a place of gratitude, abundance, and possibility is everything.
mm,
So I don't care how great of a business strategy you have. I don't care, how, I don't care like where you live, how much money you make, like who you're surrounded by. If your mindset isn't in alignment with your goals and what you want, it doesn't matter what action you take.
right.
So it's all about the conversation in your mind.
Mm,
Really big shift for me. I hear this a lot, and I used to be this person. I would look at my quote unquote errands as have tos.
mm,
So I would say, like, oh, I have to go to work today, and then I have to be there in time for my 4 p.m. yoga class, and I have to go grocery shopping, and then I have to do some laundry, and I have to pay my bills, and my life was one giant have to.
mm,
And the most supportive tool, honestly, like the word swap that changed my life was, I was working with a coach, and she mentioned, what about you get to?
mm.
So she had me tell her all the things I had to do that day. And then I replaced it with I get to. So
Wow.
then I said, I get to get up and go to work today. I get to go to my 4 p.m. yoga class at the studio that I love.
Yeah.
I get to go buy groceries and fill up my fridge with all the most nutritious, organic food. I get to shop at, Sprouts, Whole Foods, because I'm abundant and have the money to do so. I
Amen.
get to do laundry. I have a washer dryer in my unit, so I get
Mm.
to like quickly throw my clothes in there and be able to go enjoy my house while doing it. And that one word, two word swap really like changed everything for me. And to even take it a level higher in that same exercise, my coach had me say, okay, change it to blessed too. And so that's
Mm.
when I was like, so I'm like, oh, I'm blessed to get up and go to my job. I'm so blessed to have that job. I love it. I'm really good at it. I
Mm.
always know that I have money coming in. I'm blessed to go to the yoga class I want because that studio just makes me feel so good. It's time for myself. Like I'm
Wow.
blessed to go grocery shopping. I can afford groceries, and those that is the most like hugest pivotal word swap I've ever used. And so that's now how I talk. I don't use the word have to ever.
Mm.
I've done it enough times that it's been repetition. Just like when you go to the gym, it's not about doing 400 sit-ups in one day. It's about
Mm.
doing 20 every day, and that's what really supported me. So getting in the mindset of I'm so lucky I get to do this, because when you focus on what's good and what's
Mhm.
working,
Mhm.
you're going to have more of that. So that's been a really big swap for me. Another word swap that served me is, instead of saying things that are so like, I never or I
Mm.
always, switching it out to like, yeah, in the past I used to, or I tended to do this. And you're breaking that relationship with thinking that it's your truth now, because you're always reinventing yourself. Like I can wake up tomorrow and be like the abundant babe instead of the mindful babe if I wanted to. Or I can choose to
Yes.
reinvent myself after we hop off of this interview and
Yep.
choose something new. So
Mm.
being able to say like, oh, in the past I used to do this, that's your past. And when you're
Yeah.
saying I never or I always, then you're still keeping it in your reality now instead
Wow.
of separating it.
Wow, I love that, and I think it's like when someone says always or never, it's usually a story, it's an assumption, it's like a justification, a what's the word? There's another word I'm looking for, a generalization. It's like you're putting it in a box versus like really being open. And I think when we are open to rediscovering things, to be in wonder, like I wonder how it could be to send these messages. I wonder how it could be to go on dates again. I wonder how it could be to be great with a budget, with my finances, with investing, whatever it is, right? I wonder what it would be like to be masterful. And when people are closed off to possibility, when they have to, when they're forced to, when there's no other way it is, that's just the way it is, like it feels like a self-imposed prison, but they don't know that it's self-imposed. They just feel trapped. They feel pressure. They feel stress and overwhelm. And so I love that the changing the have to get to, and then an evolution on that, which I've never heard, but I'm freaking using it, Valerie, is blessed to. I'm going to give it credit to you, which came from your coach, I think. So I'm going to say, yeah, Valerie's
Always
coach said, Valerie's coach said, change it to blessed to.
that.
So yeah.
Good. Well, I'm so happy that you found a nugget in this.
Yeah.
And something I want to speak into, Chris, that you said that I liked is
Mm.
living in that possibility. Like, what would it be like
Mm.
to date? What would it be like to master a budget? What would it be like? And coming from a place of possibility rather than like, I need to start dating again, because if I do, then I'm going to end up single with 8
Mm.
cats. And I have to like get really clear on my budget, because then I'm going to be broke if I don't. And when
Mm.
you come from that place of fear and consequence, you're never, I mean, maybe you'll get the outcome you want, but it's not going to be in alignment
No.
with the expansiveness and more and more and more. So I'm really happy you said that. And yes, the languaging, like, what would that be like to be open to experiencing love? What would that be like to never have to have that feeling in my chest when I check my bank account?
Mm.
What would that be like? So
So what
I love it.
would you say is the relationship with people and choice? Like, why is choice important? Why is having choices, being open to choices, being in wonder, so to speak, versus like having to or being forced to? Like, why does that cause so much challenge and stress for people? You think?
Yes. So I think a lot of it comes down to what you talked about at the beginning of our interview, like victim
Mm,
versus taking responsibility, victim versus being like, oh, I'm the source of this.
mm,
So a lot of what comes up for me is thinking you always have two choices. There's always two like approaches you could take. You could take the victim route
mm.
and blame other people's circumstances. It's a route I took for a long time.
Amen.
Or you can take yeah, you can take responsibility and be like, okay, why, how am I a mirror for this? How
Mm,
did I cause this happen in my life?
mm,
So victims always look at things that are out of their control. So, my victim mentality was like, San Diego, like, oh, and these are the same people who are like, oh, the government, oh, my
mhm,
mom, my
mhm,
significant other, my dog, like it's always someone else's problem.
mm,
And the person who's taking responsibility, who knows, okay, I'm the source of every single thing in my physical reality right now. So like,
mm,
how did I get here? What thoughts got me here? And what do I want to take responsibility and change?
mm,
So um and when I say victims, like I know that can be harsh, and like I never wanted to be a victim.
mhm,
And when I realized, I'm like, wow, I'm doing this, I'm blaming,
mhm,
like for
mhm,
example, I could be right about like, oh, my dad loved my brother more, and I just never like grew up, with unlimited love from my dad. And it's like I look now and I see, okay, so I had this story, and now because of this story, I'm manifesting things I don't want. So, what's a belief that's going to serve me? What's a story that's going to better serve me and give me the outcome I want? So, it's that
mm,
curiosity. Like curious, if I believed I was enough, and if I believed that I could have whatever I want, like
mm,
what could I have? And that is like responsibility, source mentality. A victim would be like, yeah, that will never happen for me, or
mm,
must be nice, it's easy for her, like
mm,
she grew up with this, she has this or that, like yeah, like that would never be me, they were dealt a good hand. And I
mm,
think victims really lack seeing how they're responsible for what's in their life, and they also lack the ability to see how others who have good fortune
mm,
with, which I don't even believe that, because we're creating that. I think victims also lack the ability to see that
mm,
in other people. Like um so a way I can relate this is when you see someone doing really well in life, a victim would be like, yeah, I'm sure she, like whatever, was born into wealth.
mhm,
And
mhm,
someone who is responsible says, whoa, that's so cool, like they must have worked so hard to achieve that.
mhm.
I would love to learn from them. That's motivation for me. I wonder what they did. Let me see if I can get in relationship with them and learn from them or do what they did.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. This is great. And I've heard you say multiple times source and, like being the creator and things like that, which I love. How does language relate to spirituality in your perspective?
Yeah. I would say so I use universe.
Hmm.
I believe in God, I believe in the universe. And I think just me, just not being attached, it could be whoever, whatever that
Hmm.
higher power is, and
Hmm.
knowing that there is something bigger than you, and knowing that there's something being worked out in your favor always, even if it doesn't make sense. So
Mm,
I'm always affirming one thing, and this is what I affirm every day. I say, the universe is always aligning me with the right people, places, and experiences at the right time.
mm,
And I trust that, and I know that. So I don't, when something happens, Chris, where I'm like, ugh, I don't think like, why is this happening? I just go, okay, universe, I know you're going to reveal what this lesson is. I know that
mm,
this breakdown, I know that there's a reason, and I'm totally open to receiving that.
mm,
So I don't spend time in why land or like why me.
mm,
I focus on, wow, what is this going to do for me? I can't wait to see what the universe has in store. I can't wait to see what this lesson is. So
mm,
when it comes to spirituality, I believe that things are always working for me no matter what. And I try to find the lesson in the moment if I can. Like the other day I was running late. I didn't set myself up to win and arrive where I needed to early. So, when you're late for something and you're starting to get frantic and you're not doing things full out. And so as I'm already running out the door late, I drop my green smoothie that I had made with like so much love and care and put all my powders and all the things in it. And I dropped it on the floor. It spilled on my outfit. And instead of getting upset, which of course that was my first, I was like, I just go, awesome. Okay. So what intervention was this? Why did this need to happen now for me to like, what did I need to learn in this moment before I carry this energy into my day? So I took it as like, okay, I need to slow down. I'm being sloppy. I'm not setting myself up to win. So like, pivot, moving forward. How can I set myself up to win for the rest of the day? And with that intention, I had an amazing day after. So I would say just trying to find the lesson, even if it doesn't make sense at that moment, being open to receiving it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also hear that it's almost like spirituality is the infinite, is the anything is possible, is the you're the creator of your reality, and you get to choose how you experience this reality, this life, and language is your partner. Language is the language that you use is your tool, is how you're able to flow and dance and manage your reality and how you respond to it and how you show up and how you create with it.
Yes. I love that. It's like your number one tool.
Yeah.
And it's something that nobody can ever take away from you. And I think that's why one of the many reasons I love personal development, it's because I can just give myself more tools. So it's like, oh, I can have more tools in my tool belt to pull from whenever these things happen, because life is gonna life. Like you're gonna spill things, you're gonna there's accidents, you're going to break things. So it's like, wouldn't it be better to have tools to call on and be able to use at any point in time through those moments, rather than being reactionary, rather than letting it steal your whole day and steal your joy?
Man, I love it. I love it so much. So, what are you most excited about in these women that you're being able to serve now in the world? And you have your own podcast, you're doing all these amazing things. Like, what are you most excited about in the coming years? What's got you stepping into your victory suit and just expansive?
Yes, victory dress.
Yes, dress.
So personal development and emotional intelligence has changed my life, and learning how to be mindful. It's something that everyone has access to, and my mission is to spread that and get that in the hands as many women as possible. So my podcast, The Mindful Babes, which I co-host with Jessica Hutto, she's the Divine Maven on Instagram. She's amazing. And what's really unique about us coming together to make this podcast a reality is that her and I are very different. So she is, 38. She has 2 kids. She's a wife. She's a nurse, and she runs a successful online spiritual coaching business. Whereas I am, I'm 29. I don't have kids. I'm not married, but I'm finding ways to be mindful in my life. And mindfulness wasn't something that existed for me, back a couple years ago. So I really speak to the women who they're curious. They're like, I want to start taking more action. I want to be more in control. What could that look like for me? And then with Jessica, she's speaking to the mom who's, superwoman, and, how can she squeeze in mindfulness even though she's busy? So our messaging is very unique in the sense that there's something for everyone. And our episodes, we try to keep them like 17 minutes or less, because we want it to be a quick bite of mind food. We want to show you that mindfulness is easy. It's not something where you need to sit down and be like, okay, I get to be mindful right now and have like an hour set aside for it. No, it's something you can do quickly. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about getting our message across. And I want to give my audience and give women listening a way to quickly win. So I'm always trying to add value and give like quick mindset shift, like quick inspiration, so they can take a little bite of mind food and apply it right away and choose a new, story, choose something that's going to turn their day around. And in terms of the women that I serve, nothing lights me up more than watching my clients expand and watching them shed and break through these limiting beliefs that are BS and keeping them stuck, and
Mm.
watching them recreate their life to the point where they can look back just 2 months prior and be like, wow, I was a totally different person. Like I
Mm.
showed up so differently. And now I have X, now I have Y, Z. And it's like I'm watching them expand. I see in their face they're happier. They look like even younger. Like they just
Mm.
look like they have more life in them. And that absolutely lights me up. And I'm also clear that there's only one of me. And
Mm.
just like you, like we're vessels. So I would love to work with everyone one on one, and
Mm.
that's not, that's not the reality. So I look at how can I consistently get a message across for someone who just, in this post, maybe something will resonate in this
Mm.
podcast episode, in this live video. So, yeah, I love being that vessel.
Mm. I love it. I love it so much. So we want to know, how do we take those next steps, especially the men and women out there who are inspired, who want to be more mindful, and especially those boss babes who want to get the coaching, see what they can do to really level up themselves, step into their greatest possible self with you, Valerie. How do they do that?
Yes, absolutely. So, first things first, let's be friends on Instagram. So, follow me at the Mindful Babe. That's where I hang out. I post every day. So,
I love
I
it.
love showing you what I'm up to. I'm really big on walking the talk. So,
Mm.
anything that's working for me, anything that I do daily, I like to share it with you. And, whenever I find something that's working for me, I like to share it with you. So, you can
Mm.
find that in my posts. You can find that in my podcast. You can find it in any videos that I do. And for us to really get clear on what's possible for you, I want to support you in figuring out what's keeping you stuck. A lot of the
Mm.
times we don't really know. Like, people don't come to me and say, Valerie, here are the top 3 limiting beliefs I have. This is what's holding me back. Here's where they came from. Let's shift it. So I want to work with you and figure out what that is, where
Mm.
those stories aren't serving you, and quickly shift and
Mm.
switch those and give you the tools so you can have these for life far beyond our coaching. So
Yeah.
I'm taking applications for one-on-one coaching right now. The link is in my bio on my Instagram at the Mindful Babe, and then my website, mindfulbabe.com. We can connect through there. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me on my podcast, the Mindful Babes podcast with Jessica and I, in the iTunes store, Podbean. I also have, I know I'm like listing all the things. I
Keep
also
going.
have a freebie that I love supporting women with. It's a tool, an ebook where you can learn about how to set yourself up for a morning routine and get these habits into your life daily. So it's actually a tracker tool to help you, get clear on what you're doing to keep yourself in alignment every day and how consistently you're doing it, and to make it a habit in just 21 days. So that is in my bio on Instagram.
That's awesome. Amazing. Amazing. I love it. And everything that you're doing is just so empowering and expansive, really out to help these women especially. And I wanted to circle back around to something you said at the very beginning when you were in your journey, which is you can do all the reading you want. You can do all the podcast listening you want. You can even go to the seminars, and that might still not be what makes the difference for you. You might need someone who's there with you, working with your specific things, your story, your journey, and going back in there and holding the space for you to have the courage, to have the willingness to go back and do that, and to get that clarity. And you can't get that through just listening to a podcast or just reading a book or just going to the seminar. Like, you really get to have powerful conversations. And Valerie, you have been tremendous. This conversation has been incredibly enlightening, empowering, and clarifying people so that they can use more empowering language and create their reality as the victor, in the suit or the victor in the dress, whichever one it is. You get to be the victor, the champion, and create your reality. So Valerie, we got one more minute to go. And by the way, everyone, go connect with Valerie, listen to her podcast, Mindful Babes, and on Instagram at the Mindful Babe. And Valerie, we got one more minute. Let's share something from your heart that someone out there needs to hear. They need to be inspired, empowered, and remember who they really are.
Mhm. What I would say to that person, what I would say to you is that your past is simply that, it's your past. It doesn't define you. You're not locked, shackled to your past. In fact, your past is your exact purpose here. So, your past, things you've been through, your parents, even everything, it's so you can live the life of your desires. I promise you, it's all happening for you, and you get to wake up every morning and choose a new truth, choose a new light, and just know your past makes you beautiful. I don't care what you've done, you are worthy of forgiveness, mainly forgiving yourself. You're worthy of having the life you desire. Just because of something you've done in the past does not mean that you don't deserve to have all the abundant love, wealth, prosperity in the world. You deserve it, and you get to choose a new truth.
Hmm. I'm receiving that from myself right now, Valerie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And for everyone who is listening, so beautiful, such an incredible experience. And thank you, Valerie. Everyone stay connected with Valerie. Valerie, continue your journey because there's so many awesome things coming from her moving forward. And Valerie, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you soon, okay?
Have a good day.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.